Okay.
Dr. Marie Stewart, welcome to the St. Andrew Museum in the year 2011. I wanted to ask you about your professional journey since you left here in 1964.
Well, I lived in 65.
You left in 65.
Is rather checkered, I think is the technical term. I left here and went first to the Froebel Institute, where I did a 3-year teacher training course. And on the recommendation, actually, of Mrs. Milner, who was the principal of the prep school here, who recommended that as the best course for primary level education. And actually, that Froebel Institute is now part of Roehampton University. And the St. Andrew girl, Leonie Ross, now teaches in the English department, I think. And so she's there. And yes, and she has, she's also a fiction writer. Yes, so then, that course was heavily based on child development, child psychology. So that really whet my appetite and interested in psychology in general. So I taught for a year in London, in a mini city school, but went back to university to do psychology. So I did a psychology BSc, and then was just about to embark on a PhD there when I was contacted. I remember somebody called me on a Sunday afternoon because at the Tropical Metabolism Research Unit at the University of West Indies here, they were developing a research project on the development of children who were treated there for severe malnutrition. So I think at about a week's notice I came back here and spoke to the people here because it was a medical research council funded project. And actually it was a St. Andrew girl who was originally going to do the project. Jill Hodges. But the grant, it took so long for the grant to come through that she was doing something else in London, so of course it came vacant. So I came back. So I came and ended up spending 4 years, never do a longitudinal study for a PhD, working with Dr. Sam McGregor, and we looked at developing a treatment program, a psychological treatment program to go alongside the physical rehabilitation of the children.
Marie, to interject you, it leads me to comment that many Jamaican specialists, whether doctors or in whatever discipline, have been influential in the field of child nutrition. I think of Dr. Cecily Williams from Westmoreland, and another St. Andrew girl who I just heard of recently, who is in West Africa, or was in West Africa, and that was her field of endeavor. But you moved on to your PhDs in psychology.
Yes, so what it was, because doctors had looked at the children that had been treated at, on average, 1 year old for severe malnutrition. And they were suggesting that some of the intellectual deficits and so on that they were finding with the children who had previously been malnourished were down to purely physical factors. And our thesis was that it was a result of the inability to do the things that children do to develop their thinking, because it's all through action and interaction with the world. But if you see, for instance, you often see it on television in areas of famine, and you see the children sitting perfectly still with flies on their face. And the point being is that they've not taken in enough energy through their mouths to have the energy to brush the flies away. So what you have with malnourished children is they sit perfectly still to conserve energy, to enable their hearts or their body to keep functioning. So they're not interacting with their world. So they become intellectually retarded. So anyway, I did that.
And aside again, one of the books we launched at the museum in our literary evening was by Vilma Charlton. Now she was talking about a mechanism which is the exact opposite, which is our prowess at track and field, and this phenomena of the quick start, and of course whether it goes down to Jamaican yam from Trelawney or not. But it's the same, your earlier study is actually almost the obverse of what Vilma was doing. Sorry.
But as an aside, as I currently work in the whole field of diversity, and one of the things we look at is to eliminate the discrimination that can occur with institutions. So I work with colleges, universities, schools, employers, government departments, international companies, looking at how they deal with diversity amongst the people that either they serve as customers and clients or that they employ. But from that perspective, I'm always amused when people discuss the success of Jamaican athletes, because it's interesting that when white athletes from the developed world are good at whatever they do, or sports people, it's put down to the fact that they have talent and that they work hard. But whenever it's Jamaican athletes, and black athletes in particular, they're trying to find some kind of physiological basis. It's not that these people are talented, it's not that they have skills, it's somehow another type of explanation. And this is one of the things I work with on a daily basis, the way that we apply different sort of rules and explanations when we're talking to either the powerful or the less powerful in whatever setting.
And Marie, I think this is why your honor last year came, because you have been consistently working at this area of exploring diversity in its many manifestations. And this hence your wonderful award, which is a traditional award of few St. Andrews of an MBE last year, and we would very much like you to send us a copy of the citation and also of the interview where you spoke, I know, here with a local person about this journey, because the point of the museum is to tell the story of possible professional paths and also to bring them close to the current crop of St. Andrews who are going out into that world you went into 45, I gather it's almost 50 years ago. And and now they recognize that pioneer and the trailblazer there. So currently, Marie, tell us what your professional interests are.
But it's interesting, as you say, there's been a theme all through this. One thing that I should mention too is that at one point I worked briefly with the Bernard van Leer Foundation in the Netherlands. The Bernard van Leer Foundation that we know so much about here. Because the theme running through all the work has been this idea of diversity, but particularly social disadvantage and the ways in which we can intervene and deal with processes of challenge inequality. So currently, I work as a consultant with a range of organizations, and I've also recently, I was chair of governors of a university, the University of East London, which had a particular brief to widen access to higher education. And that term is completed, and I've now joined the board of an academy in Hackney, which is one of the most disadvantaged boroughs in London. And it's, used to be 5 years ago, we just had our first GCSE, which is CXE equivalent results, where I think it's 3 times the proportion of children that got good grades in the school that this would place. So it's been fantastic progress. And we have our first 6th form. And we're now
Starting
so it's working with children at the secondary school level.
So tell me, Marie, this is a question the students to the museum always ask. Look back to those early formative years here. Did you have any sense then of the particular professional career you would choose, or what was it about St. Andrew that perhaps gave you that fortitude to be a pioneer? Because you're always trying to honed down to the essence of what early education, and we all started at prep school, and what were the plans that you built on?
Well, what interested me was teaching, and there's a sense in which, in various contexts and in different ways, I've continued, whether it's in management training or primary school teaching, I've been teaching. But one of the things that applied to our generation, but I think will apply even more to the current generation of school St. Anthony girls, is that they are not going to end up in a career that they can even dream about now. The rapid change, and I can remember a president of MIT giving a talk in London a few years ago, and he was saying the most important thing to do is to have a good basic liberal education, because anything that you learn now is going to be out of date in months probably, certainly years. And what you have to develop is the ability to learn new things.
A wonderful, wonderful note on which